Hey everyone, welcome back to Pretending with Dice. As always, I'm your host and game master, AJ. Today's episode is the finale episode of our Things from the Flood storyline. We've had a great time playing this game, and hopefully you've all had fun listening to the story. Before we get into the episode, however, I do just want to announce some slight changes to our planned releases over the next couple of months. In light of the current international situation and the social distancing guidelines put in place by the UK government, we have unfortunately had to postpone our recording session for the next D&D group, the session 0 of which we put up as a bonus episode a couple of weeks ago, as this group was going to be recorded in person in my home studio, which obviously can't happen right now. As such, our plans are all a little up in the air right now. However, we are going to try and stick to our usual bi-weekly release schedule for game episodes. I'm thinking right now we're probably going to be running a series of one-shots, might be D&D, might be other games, recorded over Discord, but watch this space. If all goes to plan, we'll be back as planned in 2 weeks, as usual, with a new episode for you all. We are, of course, still planning on recording a new storyline with that new D&D group, just as soon as the current situation improves and we're able to get together to play. So hopefully that's fairly soon. Okay, with all that said, let's recap what happened last time. So, waiting outside Sora's house for the M.O.D agents to return, all hell broke loose as Sora's mother entered the house and the air was suddenly ripped with the sounds of gunfire. Before Hazel and Antony's very eyes, Sora collapsed onto the pavement as she was struck by a stray bullet from within the house. Dr. Smith, also injured, although not as seriously, made her way out of the house and relayed that Sora's mother had taken the gun from one of the two soldiers, killed both the soldiers, and then shot at the doctor before fleeing through the back of the house. Distraught and trying to keep Sora stable, Antony and his father loaded her into the back of the van and made to return to the M.O.D testing station. Hazel elected not to join them as, worried for her family, set off on foot towards her own house. En route to the base, Antony and his mother watched helpless as Sora slipped away, the bullet wound proving fatal. Hazel, meanwhile, soon found herself pursued by multiple townsfolk, apparently under the sway of the entity which was afflicting the town, and rather than leading them to her house, started off back in the direction of the base herself. She was saved from those pursuers by Antony and the others, who pulled the van alongside for her to jump on. As the group made their way back into the M.O.D secure bunker, the sounds of gunfire from the base entrance seemed to confirm what they feared. The entity had been made aware of them and of the quarantine keeping it penned into the town. That's pretty much where we left off last time, so let's get into today's episode. Enjoy. So, going down in the elevator, you find yourselves back in the underground sort of corridor area with the sort of isolation rooms. The doctor's sort of leading the way, and she sort of shouts, "Professor, we're back." The professor, who really hasn't been that long since you left, sort of sticks his head out from an office. "Oh, you're back. You're back. What, Doctor, what happened?" Sees her wound and sees the general kind of disheveled state that I'm sure you guys are kind of in. You're. There's not really a.
Hazel's still trying to get her breath back.
And there's no diplomatic way of putting this. You both got blood on your hands, and so does Antony's parents. And yes, it's a little bit of a motley-looking group, shall we say?
Yeah, quite the sight.
Yeah, the doctor just sort of says, they know. The girl, the other one who was here earlier.
her mother was infected, and I don't know how, but she must have known what we were doing. The two men who were with me, they're gone. She took one of their weapons before we even knew what was happening. Shot them both. Hit me as well, but I fired back, and I missed her. We only just got away. We've been followed. They know. She kind of coughs and sort of pain, like sort of. She's sort of looking around. Where's my blasted medkit? The professor is sort of not calmly. No, he is looking concerned. I didn't want to give across the impression that he was sort of like, yes, everything's proceeding according to plan or anything like that. But he's sort of taking this in. He says, well, we need to seal this bunker for now. Wait for instructions. We can't go out there if they're aware of us. It's too dangerous. Do they know about the quarantine? The doctor, because there's a good bet that they do. I don't know what else could elicit that reaction. The one who shot me, I don't know where she went.
Poor Sora. She said too much, and her mum, the thing, that parasitical thing, took over.
This is what we were worried about. The X1193 will try and protect itself in any way possible. We didn't think it would be this extreme, but this is exactly what we feared.
I mean, it's reacting how humans would, so...
Yes. If only we'd had time to test more and come up with some kind of more effective countermeasure. I mean, we know it doesn't react well to sound and magnetism, but we don't have an effective way of ensuring that everybody gets that, and at the same time.
Antony's been stood with his family while this has all been said, and they've been very quiet and kind of somber together, but Antony's quietly his blood's boiling a bit, and he's... How can you be so fucking calm when this is happening? Our friend is fucking dead, and you're just calmly explaining this to us as if, like, what the fuck is happening upstairs? Are we even safe down here? What the hell is the government going to do about this? What?
I'm sorry for your friend. I'm not as cold as you would make me out to be. I just don't know. I'm in shock as well. None of this has gone as we planned. As for safe down here, I mean, there's 20 feet of concrete above us, but only the one way in or out, so make of that what you will.
What about everybody else in town? We're just going to leave them up there?
It doesn't think they're a threat. You saw it. You saw they were following me. They weren't going into random houses.
But we don't know what they're going to do. This guy doesn't even know what this thing even is capable of. He keeps saying that he doesn't know what's happening, and then it's all happening as they expected. I don't know what the hell's happening. And he's just completely falling to pieces still. Pretty much on the verge of tears almost as he's saying this. Yeah.
Antony kind of had a lot of... He kind of went into gear, and this is the sort of decompression. Would you say? Is that an accurate thing of you've had a second to catch breath and it's caught up with you?
These conditions are still affecting him. He's not gotten over what...
You're still upset and scared.
This is very fresh, so...
Yeah. Yes, we have secure communication lines out from here. We can report what's happened, but this isn't the only safe spot on the premises as well. Hopefully the men upstairs can also will either hold off the organism or get themselves to safety.
Well, what are we going to do now, then?
That is very good question.
At this point, Hazel starts crying. Just, it's been too much, and she's not been able to... She wasn't able to get to her mum or Laurel, so she's... Yeah. She just starts crying and asks if there's somewhere she can wash her hands.
And at that, Antony kind of realises as well, we should... I can't deal with having Sora's blood on my hands. Just... Yeah. Give us somewhere to wash.
he sort of gestures and this way. There's the bathroom up here, and you're showing it. It's just a small kind of little. It's like a little kitchenette area, but there's a sink and that, like size wise and that. But there's kind of a pair of sinks there, and almost like kind of a kind of surgical sort of. You know what I mean? Like the kind of prep station sinks. There's like a pair of and it strikes you to do that. That's probably exactly what this sink is for.
Yeah, that's just the morbid thought passes through the mind, and it doesn't help. Wash off, rejoin the scientist.
Yeah, he's sort of as you come out of there, he's kind of helping. He's sort of helping the doctor sort of dress her shoulder wound and that. You sort of hear snatches of it. Oh, the bullet's gone straight through. You're gonna have been a lot of pain there, but at least it's not lodged. You get the feeling he's kind of you've kind of gotten this feeling from him in your previous conversations with him, that in like times of unexpectedness and stress, he kind of retreats into sort of technical thinking, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just have an image at the moment of after Antony's mum's washed her hands, that she's going and checking Antony, make sure he doesn't have any blood on his face or anything.
Just a little
trying to fuss over him a bit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I think he'd be quite like he would appreciate that at that point, and he's that comforting would definitely have an effect.
Yeah, sure. Your dad is kind of, again, he's sort of just almost he's sort of sitting quietly, kind of looking around a little bit, but he's not. He's not his normal kind of loud sort of what you would consider up to this point authoritative sort of, self. But now you've seen him in a crisis and
he didn't interject with the scientist or anything. So it's sort of like,
he didn't. Yeah, he just sort of,
that's just along for the ride at this point.
Like I say, maybe kind of in his mind has always thought like, oh no, all these, I'll be the one to take charge in a situation. But he's, when stuff went down, all he could do was really cling to your mum and do what you told him, sort of thing. You're kind of sort of collecting yourselves for a second, and then from another sort of side room, one of the other soldiers that you'd seen earlier down here guarding sort of sticks his head around the corner and says, "Professor, you ought to see this." Professor stands up and heads through the doorway. Would you like to follow, or would you like to...
Yeah, absolutely.
Hazel will definitely follow, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's a look of kind of like steely determination in the eyes, looking towards Hazel and sort of like looking back towards the door and like, we're doing this, right? We've got to find out what the hell's going on now.
Yeah.
So you find yourselves in... It's kind of like a little control room sort of thing. There are a couple of other soldiers in here. Sort of manning the control desks and things. You realise that this underground bunker might be a little bit bigger than you'd originally thought. It's not just a few rooms. But along one wall are a series of monitors, clearly showing security camera views. Few blind spots, as you'd discovered earlier on sneaking into the base. But there is one camera which is facing it's sort of on the outside of the larger building that blocked your view from the bunker to the gate, and it's facing the gateway, and you can see the soldiers are no longer there. There's no sign of them, so you guess that they've fallen back or whatever. Standing though on the other side of the gate, in not kind of neat rows, but also not like a kind of, it's not like a sort of scrum or anything, are standing silently what looks to be hundreds of people just staring at the facility.
Oh god, it is the whole town. What the hell are we going to do? And kind of scanning the crowd, are there people that we can recognize in there?
It's not the most high-res camera, but there's some shapes that look fairly recognisable. Yeah.
Okay.
You can make out a couple of teachers from school. You can make out a couple of people you know from school. You can see the milkman, Mr. Butler. you are dismayed to see Mr. Brewster.
Oh, that's a big deal because he's my character's anchor.
He is, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But you will maybe, I don't know whether maybe remember that he wasn't absent that first day when you were when it all went down originally.
No. That means he's been infected since.
Yeah. Seeing
And
that.
I mentioned that to the professor. Go, there's people there that weren't infected. But oh, wait, no, he was going to ask some of the other teachers about it. Maybe because it infected him because he started asking questions.
Oh no, what did I do?
You didn't.
I thought he could help.
Look, if he didn't want to try to help, he wouldn't have. And Hazel kind of turns her back to the screens because she's absolutely terrified of seeing her mum or Laurel on them.
I will say, on your first, before you turn away, you couldn't see them on there. Oh, there's a lot of people there, but you couldn't immediately see them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Just, if she keeps looking in that direction, then she knows she's just going to keep scanning the crowd to try and spot them.
You can see the doctor is talking with a couple of the other people there, and the professor's still kind of just sort of scanning the screens, and you see him sort of reach for he reaches for like a microphone, you know, one of those kind of like a tannoy microphone. He presses the button on it and says, "What do you want?" The doctor just sort of gives him a look and he just sort of shrugs. And looking at the screen, I mean, Hazel, you're not looking, but Antony is. You don't see any response from the crowd, but you would assume just from context clues that, you know, it would have been audible out there. He waits for a second and says, "Please disperse and return to your homes. This is Ministry of Defence property." Again, no response. They're all... Again, it's not particularly high resolution video, but they all appear to be pretty much stone-faced and just staring forward at the... almost not like statues, but you know what, they're just all just sort of stood there staring.
Anthony is kind of furrowing his brow, thinking to himself, this guy is asking them what they want. Like we should be fighting these things, and he kind of paces towards the guy with the microphone and says, "What the hell do you think you're doing just asking them questions? They're clearly all infected. What the hell? Like, you need to be calling in like the army right now. This needs to go further than this base."
And we will do, but this is not an unintelligent organism, as you know. If we can get some answers, we might get out of here without any further bloodshed.
Oh, maybe you're right. I'm sorry. I'm just so stressed out. I shouldn't even be. You're in charge. Okay. And he kind of steps back.
I mean, if you have a suggestion, I would want to hear it.
It's almost... Hazel stops and turns and looks back at the screens. It's almost like the intelligence isn't in them, like in each of them. Like, I don't know, like, is the thinking being done somewhere else? Like, wherever most of this thing is, that's where it's doing the thinking and controlling them? Because they're not responding like individuals. It's like a beehive, and it's the thing at the middle that's controlling it.
They all want the same thing, and that's us or you for some reason.
But it's not even the same thing. It's the exact same thing at the exact same second. That's not common purpose. That's like a single brain.
Like a hive mind.
Yes. Like that. So if we want to talk to it, we would need to find the majority of the hive.
I think we are looking at them. I mean, hive mind, if that's what it is, that would make sense. You told, one of them discovered the quarantine, and here they all are. So, talk to one, you talk to all of them.
Yeah.
Maybe you said the thinking isn't done here. Maybe it's done everywhere.
It could be. I just don't know how to. How can you talk with that? Does it work?
We know they still use the human sensory organs. I mean, you've been talking to. Well, if what you told me earlier was true, your friend, your school friend has been infected, and your other friend's mother was infected, and presumably you interacted with them as you normally would.
Yeah. So when it thought it was undiscovered, it let them continue to be in charge.
It would seem that way, yes.
It must feel under attack.
Well, if it heard about the quarantine, it must have thought, with some degree of accuracy, it must be said that we were, considered it a threat, and it was the one being quarantined. Again, that's fairly accurate. In strictly speaking terms, it is under threat.
If it's not willing to talk just now, then I don't know. It sounds really stupid, but maybe we could try and wait it out a little bit. I'm sorry, I can't think of anything useful.
No, this is all things to explore. He kind of nods at you, Antony, says, "But you are right. We do need to report this to my superiors. If you'll excuse me." He reaches for a phone.
Antony would, I think, in this moment, choose to scan the TV and continue to kind of look for people in the crowds that he might recognise, and kind of fixated on seeing if there's any reaction from them and keeping an eye on the situation.
Again, nobody's moving. You're definitely seeing people that you recognise.
Okay, but yeah, that's all he's doing while this call's taking place. He'll be listening and.
Okay, so as you're scanning, the gist of the conversation that he makes on the phone is that, well, from what you can make out from it, is that essentially he's pretty much, as far as you can tell, reporting the facts of the situation. He doesn't appear to be really leaving anything out. The general gist of it being the entity under observation has become aware of the presence of the testing team. And reacted violently, and they're worried about maintaining the quarantine and are requesting support. Seems to be. That's pretty much what he says, and you can hear him sort of listening to a response, and okay, we can do that at least. Thank you, sir. Puts the phone down. Well, they told us to sit tight. Hopefully that means they're formulating a response, but yes. It's really only our men that we've got out there with the roadblocks on the main road and that at the moment, but yes.
I guess at least it seems to be focused here rather than trying to escape.
Well, for now, yes. Perhaps it thinks that it has us trapped.
Yeah, we are.
Well, yes. Again, he picks up the microphone. Worth another go, but please tell us what you want or disperse. There is, for a moment, no signs of movement, and then one figure steps forward. You don't recognise them other than them being someone from the town. It's obvious they're speaking, but sort of too quietly for the microphone to pick up. The professor sort of turns and says, zoom in. Sort of, it looks very much like they're repeating two words over and over again, but you can't hear the sound. I say the security camera microphone, if there is one, is not picking it up.
Can we see the soldiers on any of the security cameras?
Make a mind investigate check just to sort of see if they're showing up on any of the cameras.
Okay. Yeah, get a whole 3 dice this time.
Woo! I only need one success in this. 5, 2, and 1. Okay. Anthony, are you looking as well, or?
Yeah, why not? Let's give it a bash.
2 6s.
Hey, there we go.
Hazel, you don't see anything straight away, but Anthony, you sort of see one camera in there's a grid of sort of maybe 20 different security cameras. Some of them are in places that you think like, well, that is not on the base, but in one of the corners you see one which has a label which is barracks interior, and you can see the soldiers are there. They seem to be building a barricade against the door.
Okay. Anthony points towards the screen. Look, the soldiers are over there. They've been they're stuck in some room or something. They must have been pushed back. Oh, we're fucked. We're all fucked.
They can't get down here. Everybody that's got a code is here, but no one's outside with them. We can't hear what they're saying.
So on the main screen, he sort of brought up the camera that you've been seeing the crowd on the main screen, and it zoomed in on this person's face. You think you notice that? You think you recognise them as actually, you know what? Make a mind comprehend check for me. That'd be interesting.
Both of us?
If you both, yes, yeah, both of you. I only need one success on this actually as well. So yes. One success from Hazel, one success from Anthony. Yeah, you both. Now that the camera's zoomed in, you can see this person who's speaking. It takes you a second because you're used to seeing. If you have seen them before, you've seen them sort of in a suit and stuff as well. But they just appear to be almost in like a dressing gown. You know, like they got out of bed and walked here. If that makes sense. This person is the mayor.
Okay.
But the camera's zoomed in now, like you guess it's kind of a maximum zoom, sort of tight in its head, and you can just sort of see mouthing kind of words, but they're sort of, you know, sort of blankly staring directly at the camera as well, like they know that's where they need to be looking, and you can see the eyes are completely black, no whites visible at all, but just sort of saying these two words over and over again.
I don't know if it's really like a common skill or anything, but lip reading, like, is it possible to try and like attempt?
You can attempt it. Yeah, you can attempt
syllables at least or something.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, this I think is also going to be. I think mind comprehend might be the right one to go for on this again. And I'm not going to set a difficulty. I'm just going to say the more successes you get, the more information you might get, and you can both do this if you like.
Okay. Nope, not for me.
Or for Hazel.
Fuck.
Well, it looks like the first word begins with a T, and it's fairly short.
I can't make out what they're mouthing. Somebody's going to have to go up there. And Anthony's looking towards the doctor. Are there any soldiers left in this place with us?
Hinting. So, well, someone's got to go up there. It's not going to be me. Yeah, there's
they're the adults in this situation.
Yeah,
Can you blame this kid?
There's the doctor, there's the professor. Obviously, the doctor's injured, and there's 4 soldiers, or at least people in fatigues in your in the room you're in. At you saying this, they sort of all kind of sort of exchange of glances. The doctor's the first to speak out. She says, "I'm not fucking doing it." Soldiers are all looking from one to each other, hoping, I think, that they're not about to be ordered to go upstairs.
Hazel's voice breaks fairly dramatically. It was me they were following. I'll go up.
Hearing that, Anthony kind of turns around. What? You can't go up by yourself.
It was me they were after. It was me that it saw running from Zora's house.
Turning towards all the collected adults in the room, Anthony kind of points an accusatory finger around at them. I can't believe that none of you are willing to go upstairs. She's willing to go up by herself, and I'm going to go with her. And I can't. You're disgusting. You should give us a gun at least, or something.
No guns.
What?
No. It.
What
we're
do
right,
we do if they come at us?
they're outside the gates. We need to stay more than an arm's reach from the gates.
I will say as well, knowing the size of the crowd and the flimsiness of the actual gate itself, as opposed to like the barbed wire on the fence, if they wanted to be inside, they'd be inside, the base, if that makes sense. But they're all sort of just stood there in front of the gatehouse, sort of thing.
Okay, so kind of defeated but convinced. Antony's kind of okay. Well, all right, but yeah, let's just go. Let's find out what they're saying and come back down, because I mean, maybe we'll see what they're saying. I suppose maybe we'll talk to them.
The professor sort of looks. He says, "No, you're right. I mean, we ought to come to. I'll come with you."
If anything of the people staying is still in there, they don't know you. They know us. But can I have a copy of the code to get back in the door?
Yes. I probably shouldn't write it down just in case. It's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
I think I said 3 and 4 with the last 2 digits on the previous episode, and I can't remember if that's right or not.
So is yeah. Hazel kind of half smiles, imagining what Sora's reaction to that would have been.
We didn't think anybody would ever come in here. You know, most people put off by the barbed wire and the soldiers.
Well, I got in.
It's just easier to remember for people.
Antony's just flabbergasted. You're incompetent. This place is ridiculous. Like, I can't believe that you're the ones defending us. It's no wonder this thing's taken over the town.
You're right.
They did all right, you know, up until somebody decided to just scream all the information out.
It's not her fault she got shot. I can't believe you're saying that.
I didn't say it was her fault she was shot.
Oof.
Antony just kind of cries at this point, just bursts out crying, and kind of runs out out of this room towards where his parents were.
Yeah.
And is going to make a run towards the elevator to try and get outside immediately.
As you go past your dad, you say, "Whoa, son, where are you going?"
He tries to push past. I don't know if there's any attempt to...
Well, he's not physically restraining you, he's just sort of... He's like surprised to see you like heading for the exit, basically. So, son, we just got in here away from them. What are you doing?
Streams of tears in his eyes. He's just barreling past, kind of pushes a hand out of the way if there was anything reaching for him, and is making a gun for that elevator.
Okay. I mean, you can make it to the elevator. Hazel, are you following? Or?
Go up. What's happening?
Yeah. Hazel follows Antony out of the room and is still upset and very scared, but also determined. Because there's nothing else she can see that might help.
You said that the elevator moved quite slowly, so I'm just before we go any further. Well, getting to the elevator itself, was there enough time in terms of like movement here? Maybe we should do a quick body move check each to see if I completely outpace her to the point where like I can get the elevator and actually go up, or if we're going up together.
If you want to do that, yeah. If you want to.
Well, you did say the elevator was quite slow. That was the only thing.
It is pretty slow. Yeah, that's totally up to you whether you're trying to get away and up on your own or not. That's the question, really.
Yeah, no, I'd rather see how this plays out.
Okay, well, yeah.
Oh, okay, so
2 successes from
Antony's.
Antony's pretty much.
Yeah, he just completely bolts.
He's taken off at a run. Hazel, you're following, but he gets through the first set of doors and up onto the elevator. So you're trying to leave Hazel down here as well, then?
Yep, trying to ride the elevator up by himself. Just in this kind of like completely upset mode. Like he's not thinking straight at all. He's just running away from the situation.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can make it onto the elevator and press the up button before Hazel gets to it. Yeah, and you start travelling upwards. I mean, Hazel, you get to the elevator to find that it is not there, and you can see the platform rising above you.
So on the ride up, Antony's just kind of quietly just going, fucking, oh, I can't believe what's fucking happened. He's trying to pull himself together in some way. And as he's reaching the top, he starts thinking about the fact that they're up there, and he's going to listen to what they're saying. And he's kind of doing this where it's just like he's just trying to get it done. He wants to now get up there and talk to these people, and So getting to the top, and getting outside. What's the scene immediately outside the door?
So immediately outside the door is parked the van that you pulled up in. Seems undisturbed. The doors are all closed as you left them.
Can I see the crowd from here?
No, there is a large building in between where you are and the gate.
Right. So, sort of moving forward carefully and glancing around, Antony leaves the room and goes towards the van and slides open the side door.
Okay.
And picks up the gun that he had picked up from the scene with Sora earlier on the path outside her house. Obviously, he'd kind of picked it up, taken it into the van, and dropped it when he put the pressure on Sora. So, picking that up, he kind of shakily looks at it and holds it and starts creeping off towards the direction of the group.
Okay, trying to be stealthy.
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a body sneak check from you? While this is going on, Hazel, you see the lift platform start to come back down.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's no successes on 46 for body sneak from Antony. So you think you're trying to, you think you're being quite quiet, but we shall see what happens there as you kind of creep towards the edge of the building. Hazel, the elevator returns to the bottom, empty.
Hazel sighs and goes into the elevator and looks back down the corridor before going up.
Yeah, Antony's parents are both sort of stood there looking pretty kind of like flabbergasted and sort of like, again, like they don't know. A lot of the time they look like they don't know what's going on, but like it's a kind of like, it's almost like they're in shock because like, what on earth is happening tonight? We thought our son was just out and, came back late. They're fully ready to shout at him for breaking their curfew, and then this has all happened very quickly. They're in kind of shock, a little bit paralyzed as to action. Them kind of like looking at you, sort of looking a little bit scared, is the last thing you see before the doors close and the elevator starts to go up again. Antony, you reach the edge of the building and you can see the gatehouse. Now the gate is closed, but it really is only kind of like a wire frame gate. This isn't like this isn't a very defensible position, and you can definitely see only maybe 10 feet beyond it a large crowd of people. It's one thing seeing it on a screen, but faced by suddenly like a huge crowd of silent people just sort of standing there staring forward is quite another.
Can you hear what they're saying yet?
They seem to know. You can actually see the mayor from here, and they appear to have stopped saying things.
Okay. Is there any kind of cover to approach and get close to the crowd without being seen?
Not really, no. It's kind of open ground.
Okay. Antony kind of looks around, sees that, and pulls himself up and steps forward, starting to raise the gun in his hand, and shouts towards the crowd, "I don't know what the fuck you are, but you got Sora killed!" And he's just shakily holding the gun, and is there any reaction from the crowd?
As one, they all turn their heads and look at you. As you step forward, they're not moving, but their eyes and their heads are just sort of tracking you.
You better stop fucking talking, or I'm gonna start fucking shooting!
Hazel, you reach the top of the elevator at this point.
Right. Hazel takes a deep breath and steels herself and goes out of the bunker.
The van is there in front of you, unmoved. You can hear what sounds like Antony shouting on the other side of the building. Antony, as you continue to step forward, the first sign of movement from the crowd, Mr. Brewster steps to the front. Are you going to shoot me, Antony?
What are you doing with them? What's going on, Mr. Brewster?
I think you should put the gun down, Antony. There's no need for violence.
No, I don't think you're actually Mr. Brewster. No, you need to tell me what the hell you're doing. What are you doing? Why are you doing this to our town?
We're not doing anything. We just want to be here.
I was just going to ask where Hazel had got to by this point.
So I think by this point, yeah, you've kind of reached the corner of the building, and you walk around to see Antony kind of standing in front of the crowd, kind of shakily holding a pistol at what looks like Mr. Brewster, the sports teacher, who you would know Antony is very close with.
Can I hear that Mr. Brewster's talking?
He's talking quite quietly. You can see his lips moving, but you can hear Antony shouting.
Okay.
But you're probably, I would say, at the corner of the building, not close enough to hear what's being said by Mr. Brewster. You know, he's talking quietly and calmly, as if he didn't have a gun pointed at him. This is our town too, Antony.
What the hell do you mean? So you're not Mr. Brewster, are you? Who are you? What are you?
I am Mr. Brewster. You've known me for several years now. We are more. And the word more, the whole crowd says.
Wow.
He says, and we just want to live.
Antony just starts kind of like pacing backwards and forwards in that. He's frantic. I don't think he would quite do the scratching his head with the gun thing, but he's in that kind of edgy mode of like he doesn't know what to do in response to this.
Mr. Brewster steps forward one extra step and holds out a hand. He says, please put the gun down, Antony. Give me the gun.
And he kind of he looks, seeing the step towards him, he takes a step back and kind of looks around a little bit and catches sight of Hazel and kind of takes a few more steps further back quickly away from Mr. Brewster if he can.
Yeah, no, he's not like going to grab you or anything. You can step back.
And heads back towards Hazel. How much have you seen? What the hell's happening? He says that they're more than just people now.
Well, if we're right, they kind of are.
But what does that mean for us? Like,
I don't know.
Why do you take people over? Why are you here?
I think it might be better to ask. And Hazel turns and looks at them.
The heads sort of turn towards you.
Did you come here deliberately? Or did you just find yourselves here?
Before, we were nowhere, and then we were here.
Okay. Sora's mum wouldn't have shot people without having your influence, but you seem to think as one, or at least sometimes. Why did you shoot them?
They were armed. They were threats. They were a threat to us.
And they thought that you are a threat to us as well.
We had done nothing to them. We only wish to live.
But you took over people. You've changed people.
Only when necessary.
But you continued to spread to more people. How was that necessary?
Do humans not also spread to where they are not?
Doing it like this? We consider wrong.
This was necessary for our survival. One is weak. Many are strong. More is better.
The reason the humans consider you a threat is that you take them over and you take away their choice. And you just said that you don't have an issue with just continuing to take over until you take over everyone.
We have no choice. We cannot survive any other way in this place.
Why don't you go back to where you came from then?
We cannot return to nowhere. We are here now. There is no other choice.
So what does that mean for everyone? Do you just keep going? Do you just take over the world and then what? Is that actually you, Mr. Brewster? Is it really you there? Will we just live lives? What does this all mean?
It is really me, Anthony. I am still in here. I might not have chosen this myself, but there's no going back now. We are one. We are many.
Nobody is suggesting killing you. No one's suggesting wiping you out.
Then perhaps Anthony would like to put down the gun.
At this point, I think we need to go back and report this conversation.
Yeah. You all stay out here. I don't trust you.
They might respond better if most of you go back to your normal life, because you can all communicate anyway. You don't all need to be here. They're less likely to get aggressive with fewer of you here.
As you say, and many of them start to walk off. But you should know we only want to live. We do not want to be wiped out.
Yeah. Neither do we.
Mr. Brewster says, I will wait here then. The rest of the crowd disperse and just sort of turn and walk off into the night.
They start to head back to the bunker, and then Hazel pauses and just turns and goes, the trouble is that we know that the many can take complete control because now Sora is dead.
We did not kill her.
No, but you started the shooting.
Antony grips the gun briefly, and then kind of, with Hazel, turns back towards the bunker and heads back in to report. Unless there's something else on the agenda.
No, I mean, I think we can cut then to you in front of the professor. Well, what did they say?
Yes, they all have one mind. They take over human hosts to survive, and they don't know where they come from. As far as they're aware, they sprung into existence here. They don't want to fight. They assumed the soldiers were there to kill them.
The doctor sort of... Well, that was... I mean... It had a fair point. I mean, that our scanning technology uses the same high-frequency audio that we know causes them discomfort, so it's a reasonable assumption to think we were there to harm them. I'm just saying.
But they also... They said they spread to more people because they felt safer. And it was like it was Mr. Brewster talking, but his voice did change, but it could still have been controlling what he said.
It was like, I mean, he said he was more, and I guess there was like something else. There was something more to him. Anthony kind of pauses for a moment and then realizes and thinks about the situation and says, you called the backup. What's the government going to do? Because if they come in thinking that like this is a big trouble situation, they might come in with the guns and everything, and this could really go bad.
That is a distinct possibility. I mean, we haven't developed a fully effective treatment for getting the organism out of a body. I mean, we can cause them discomfort and well, short circuit isn't exactly ideal way to put it, but high enough amount of magnetism and sound sort of seems to knock them back for a while. That might be similar to what you saw in your friend's house, although I can't imagine why that would have been the case.
I wonder.
Well, either way, as you saw that with your friend and his father, that was not permanent. It knocked it back and sort of weakened it. It never fully separated from the host. But yes, without a complete treatment, as you say, guns blazing is a possibility.
Well, you need to call them off then. Pick up that phone and make a call.
Well, I can, but I don't know how. I don't know, what they'll say to that. I mean, not without an alternative. We've already told them the quarantine might be broken. They're going to assume, the worst.
Well, all we can do is try. And in fairness, they did listen when we went out to talk.
Well, what are you suggesting then?
We can't just let them spread. We don't know what will happen, like, long term. This has only just happened. This could be something else. We don't know. It might be the start of something.
Well, what are you suggesting? They can be reasoned with, or that they listened?
They can be reasoned with. How much we can trust their answers, I don't know. But they're certainly capable of thought.
Is there a way of using, like, you've got the technology to separate them? Is there a way to do that, all of them at once? Like, if we can get them to gather up again?
Well, it doesn't properly separate them, as I said. It knocks them back, but they take some time to kind of compose themselves, as it were, as you saw with your friend and his father. But that doesn't separate them completely. It seems to interfere with their connection to the nervous system.
But could it mean that we could check? I mean, if the host person was conscious during that, does that mean that we could check what they actually want to say?
I have no way of knowing that. I mean, we've never been able to test it at that sort of scale. As I said, our scanners use a similar thing. We kind of sort of look for anomalous neurological signs at a distance, if that makes sense. Low enough level that the conscious mind wasn't aware of it, but enough that signs of distress are easily picked up. Think of it like a high-frequency noise to a cat or a dog.
But maybe, like, if there's enough of a carrot to tempt them, maybe if someone agreed, we'd be able to speak to the host. If we could do that, then we could maybe...
Well, it's an option, but that's in terms of a long-term plan. I mean, you say we don't want them coming in guns blazing, but what's the other option? Convince them not to spread?
I don't know. I think they're scared, so they're spreading more because they're scared.
Do you think we could reassure them?
I think it's worth trying. I'm not sure there's anything else short of, like, just bombing the entire town.
That's not ideal. Well,
yeah.
Yes, wouldn't be the first time. Oh, well, you wouldn't know about that. Of course, nobody does. Anyway, the doctor sort of gives him a look at this.
Anthony looks at Hazel like, what the hell did he just say?
Probably best you don't think about that too much.
Oh, okay.
Bomb the town? What? If they bombed it before, then they'll bomb it again. You've got to make that call. Like, tell them to not to come and bomb the town.
Yeah, that's for the best. Yes, but we do need we need an alternative to pitch to the government. Otherwise, they're liable to shoot first and perform a giant cover-up later.
Well, you need to explain then. You need to be the one. What do you want us to do?
I will explain, but we need an alternative to.
Well, we'll have to talk to them. I guess. What can we do? Like, if they just stay in the town, would you be able to would the town just be able to operate? How could we where could we give them a place?
That's a way to go. I mean, we would need to convince the entity to limit itself to just this town, and I don't know, maybe promise not to spread into anyone new. That might be enough to at least keep the government from bombing the place. I mean, but our position here as monitoring would become a bit more permanent.
Well, I don't know what else to do. Well, what do you think, Hazel? I mean, if they're actually the people that we know, then we can live together. We can, and if as long as you scientists and everything, you don't pry and get into our lives too much, then maybe we can live like this.
Well, I mean, you said yourself, it seemed like the varying degrees of control that the entity had. I mean, perhaps if it felt safe, it would, like you say, it wouldn't spread more, and it would let the people go along with their lives. That seems likely. But we'd have to convince both it and the government.
They did just seem to be doing normal things all the time. Aside from when we found Kevin and his dad, really, what has it done? It's not really hurt anybody, has it?
It lashed out because it was scared.
Yeah, it all makes sense.
We have to try.
Well, I'll get on the phone and see if I can buy us some time. Perhaps you should go back and see what the that man outside has to say about it.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll cut to Mr. Brewster as you walk round the building is already looking towards where you are, sort of standing quietly.
I'll take the lead on this, Hazel. I know him. I know Mr. Brewster really well. And he kind of steps forward. Mr. Brewster.
Antony.
We need to talk. We've got a plan. We were talking to the government people, and we were thinking that maybe if you said that you were spreading because you were scared and that you were doing it for safety, and do you need to spread? Can you stop spreading? Because like Hazel said, humans we don't spread like you, and it's not good for us. We don't know what it's going to do to the people that you're hiding inside of. And if you stop spreading, then maybe you can stay in the town. And if we can just keep living, you're still Mr. Brewster, right?
Yes. Yes, I am.
So you can keep teaching PE, and we'll just keep going like it's normal. And the government's going to be here, and they'll keep an eye on everything. And we might not be able to travel so much, I suppose, but it'll just be life like it always was. So, what do you all of you think?
This would be acceptable to us. To spread as a conscious choice. To confine ourselves to this town, as you say, if it would ensure our safety, is something we would be amenable to. Those we have spread to go about their lives. As we said before, we only wish to live. This would be acceptable.
I could be wrong, but I suspect that those that you have not spread to, the government, the scientists will want to check that they're still not a part of you, your collective.
I am sure they will want to run their tests. We did not spread to everybody in this town, as you know. Yourselves are not part of us. It would be a shame for those who are not part of us to lose their lives on our account.
Does that mean your sister and your mum?
Its head kind of tilts and says, "The Springs household was not brought into our fold. Your mother and sister were not part of us."
Antony turns and sort of finally breaks and smiles in relief.
Hazel starts crying.
Despite our efforts.
Do you have a name for yourselves?
Us.
Okay. Fair, that wasn't a sensible question. When we see you, not inside people, I saw that on my sister's windowsill, but it didn't seem to be able to come in.
Yes, that was perplexing. We were unable to determine why we were unable to enter.
I see. Thank you. I think.
As I said, we agree to your terms. Pass it on to the government men. See his voice kind of shift. He says, "I'll see you at football practice on Monday." He turns and walks away.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, because he's turned and walking away, before he can respond, he kind of goes, and turns to Hazel, goes, "This is the craziest thing that I've ever heard of. Like, I mean, how do we go on? How do we live lives? We're not going to be able to leave this town. Like, when school finishes, what do we do? We're like,
We might. If they keep their word, we won't be infected.
not infected, but if the government's going to close off the town, maybe, because people won't be able to come and go unless, I mean, can we all keep it secret? I suppose there's only so many of us that know.
They'll have to, but they'll also need to provide for us. Because if they neglect the many can just start spreading again. It's like everyone almost went to war over nuclear weapons, but they didn't do it because if someone fired first, the retaliation would still hit them. It's the same thing.
We've got to make sure that that guy, that he got through to them and convinced them. We should get inside and tell them what happened.
Yeah. We might actually get through this.
I can't believe it.
And they kind of turn and run back to the bunker.
So as the two of you turn and head back into the bunker to deliver news of the acceptance of the proposal, hopefully all will be well in Twynham for the remainder of the 90s and beyond. But who knows? Plus there's the fish people who live down by the wharf, and they might not agree to it at all.
Hazel's still concerned that whatever this blood thing is was enough to chase off the many.
Yep. But yeah, I hope you guys have had fun playing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Some good twists and turns, some good mental time travelling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fun.
Oh yes, definitely.
Okay, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm hoping that we'll have a new bonus episode for you next week on Thursday the 9th of April. And failing that, we should have something for you on our usual release date in 2 weeks' time on Thursday the 16th of April. In the meantime, you can get in contact with us on Twitter and Facebook, both of which we're at Pretend with Dice. If you're a Discord user, you can also join our server by following the link in the pinned tweet on our Twitter page and in our Twitter bio. And finally, you can also email us at pretendingwithdice@outlook.com. If you're an iTunes or Apple Podcast user, it'd be really great if you could leave us a rating and review, as it all helps us to find new listeners, and we'd just really love to hear what you all think of the podcast. So for now, that's our show. I hope you've all enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.